Welcome to Built to Finish. I'm your host, Stephen Pivnik. Join me each week as we explore the journeys of audacious goal setters. This includes experienced founders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs sharing pivotal moments that propel their success. We'll also be talking with endurance athletes who push the limits of physical and mental ability. This show is brought to you by Acresis, offering tailored, high-impact advisory services to help founders get to their finish line with a strategic acquisition or majority investor recapitalization. Let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Built to Finish. Today's guest is a dynamic leader dedicated to helping professionals break through barriers, take bold action, and achieve their highest aspirations. With over 20 years of experience as a dancer and a choreographer, she brings a unique perspective on the powerful connection between mindset, movement, and transformation, both personally and professionally. As the founder of 2 award-winning companies, she ranks amongst the top 2% of female entrepreneurs. She also hosts the Big Freaking Change podcast, which is in the top 5% globally. Her latest book, Big Freaking Change, became a 3-time bestseller and was featured in Forbes as the #1 book for leaders to gain control of their business and their life. Having guided more than 10,000 entrepreneurs, she combines creativity and business strategy to help others unlock their full potential and drive growth and innovation. Her work has been recognized with numerous honors, including being named Global TV's Woman of Vision and CIBC's Entrepreneur of the Year, along with features on Global News, Google News, and other major outlets. Based in Canada, she continues to inspire audiences worldwide with her results-driven coaching and speaking, empowering people to create lasting, meaningful change. Cara Poppitt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Stephen. Always great to see you.
No, it's my pleasure. And when I was getting your introduction ready, I'm like, this is a little bit too long for a podcast, but I couldn't take anything out because you have so many accomplishments that I wanted to list every single one of them.
Oh, that was so kind. Yes. Sometimes when people read it, I'm like, wow, like you just take a moment back. Because when you're always in the thick of life, sometimes you don't see all that you've done or how you evolved as a person, right? We always just
Completely.
do our thing. So yeah, thank you for the intro.
No, you're very, very welcome. So when you and I first met, it was at a place called Heroic Public Speaking, where we went to fine-tune our public speaking skills. And when it was time to introduce ourselves, they gave us 2 minutes. I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes on stage just for general introduction to our cohort. And you came out with this massive dancer high kick and burst of energy and just so much confidence. And you brought me back to the time where both of our daughters were dancers when they were growing up. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope they show up in life, which I think they do, with as much confidence that you just did on stage. So
that was funny.
how much has dancing contributed to your success in life?
You know, I think a lot. I think dance taught me that it's okay to be seen, that it's okay to show up, that it's okay to fail, that it's okay that you're never going to reach perfection, but it's the journey and it's the process and it's the dedication to evolving. And that mindset has really carried me in to life and into business and really who I am as a person. Because I think so many times when we look back at different versions of ourselves. Dance was like always in my back pocket. If I was stressed, I could dance. If I was excited, I could dance. It's helped me ground myself too. And I think you just learn confidence by taking action and stepping out before you feel ready. So I would say a huge part of it. And I'm glad that you saw it as joyful and like energy because everyone went quiet. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to bust it out and do it. So yeah, you never know what you're going to get. But I think when we give ourselves permission to show up fully as ourselves, that's where magic happens for all of us.
Agreed. I wish more people would give themselves permission to do that.
Yeah.
So you write a lot about change and transformation. What do you think some of the biggest myths are that people have about transformation?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I think a lot of people think it's hard and then they just back off. Sometimes people expect that it's easy, but we believe it's hard. So there's a disconnect, right from the get-go. I think sometimes if we're growth oriented and growth mindset, we're always looking to change. We're always looking to evolve. And that can be very healthy. And it can also be limiting too for us because we never really feel content or fulfilled, or we're always reaching for something new. I think transformation happens when we have the desire and we also have the determination. And it's like showing up for ourselves, even if it's a small amount. So many people get desperate for change. They wait too long before they make change. And everybody that feels stuck in life, I feel they want to get unstuck before they make change. but it's through taking action that change is possible and you get unstuck last. So I think most people do want to make change, but we have limiting beliefs. We have potential and we also have fears, right? That stand in our way. And so if we can really understand what is standing in our way, what are we scared of? What does success look like for us?
Hmm.
So both sides of it, then transformation is really, really possible for all of us. And it's possible to maintain it because sometimes we make these changes and then we revert back. And I think
Sure.
sometimes we really got to be clear on the mind and what motivates us long term to reach the transformation that we desire.
Agreed. Agreed. So there's a lot of elements that are essential for true transformation and change to occur.
Hmm.
People, it's not just about individuals, right? It's about
Yeah.
being inside of an environment, a team, spouse, peers, etc. What advice would you give someone whose environment, like I just mentioned, team, spouse, peers, etc., is resisting their need for change?
Yes. So I always ask people when they want to make a change. So let's talk about environment, right? I'll ask them, what is the feeling that they want to feel after they make the change? Because most of us say, oh, once this person changes or once that thing changes, it's an if then when, then I'll be able to do A, B, and C. And I say, okay, maybe that's true, but maybe other obstacles are going to come in the way. But what is the actual change going to give you? And most people will start off with, oh, it will give me freedom or it'll give me peace of mind or and I say, okay, great. What does that feeling give you? And we keep going really, really low and we keep going another level. And then we get to the root of the problem or the root of the
Hmm.
feeling that's driving us. And it's often in our subconscious. So I believe that when we want to make change, we got to tap into what really motivates us and what is our inner voice saying and what are the objections and why do we believe that once this happens we'll be able to experience that type of change? Because the reality is we can't change anybody else ever. We've all tried, it never works.
Oh, yeah.
But people have to meet themselves where they're at. And I think even for us, when we look externally as like an environment, we have to think of like what is within our control so that we can make this environment more positive, more welcoming, whatever the obstacle may be. And sometimes it's a mindset shift. Sometimes it's like we need to have better boundaries or we need to have a clear communication plan because this is not working for both parties. But when we really understand the feeling behind the motivation of the change, we can make change in any situation, in any environment.
The feeling behind the motivation. I mean, I like that a lot until you lose that feeling, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
in addition to everything we just mentioned, team, spouse, environment, sometimes people sabotage their own initiative for
Oh,
change.
yes.
Where do you think some of this like sabotage comes from high performers that set off with the right intention, but just like you mentioned earlier, revert back?
Yeah. I think high performers, we like change. We actually don't resist change. So we're kind of like a different part of the change cycle. Most people resist change, but action takers will like jump into action often too early or too soon without thinking of what they really want. And then we'll revert back and we'll go for something new. But I think for high performers, if we can really get clear on why do we do what we do. So for example, it's like, okay, I'm going to open up a new business. Okay, what is that going to give you? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be creative. I'm going to, have energy. I'm going to help people. I'm going to make the impact. We have all these ideas. Okay, well, what is that going to give you? And we keep going until we really find out what drives us and what motivates us. And often there's limiting beliefs. So for people that, myself included, we grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money in our early childhood. And then my parents became successful and our life changed and we had more opportunities and, it had evolved. But at my core, it was like, you never waste money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Be grateful for what you have. Very, very simple life. And so for me, my motivation, I want to be successful. Well, what does successful look like? Well, it looks like I can take care of my family at any time for any reason, any season. And what does that give me? Well, that gives me peace of mind. That gives me freedom, but actually it gives me confidence, right? And
Hmm.
sometimes we don't realize the things that we're doing is actually linked to our confidence. So when we want to start a new business, well, what is that going to give us? It's going to give us all these things, but I believe it gives us confidence that we're intentional with how we're living our life. We're intentional about using our gifts. We're intentional about the impact. And I think for a lot of people, we don't take enough time to reflect. I always say invest in yourself, which is reflection with intention. So before we jump for high impact people and people that love change and are, always go getting, what is it that really drives us? And can we tap into that emotion or feeling without achieving the new business or without achieving the new market or whatever it may be? Because that question, I think what sometimes when we have such a level of success, we're actually exploring more of who we are, right? We're always evolving. And we think sometimes doing something will indirectly give us more knowledge about who we are. And sometimes that's the case and it's beautiful. But when the people retract, often I think the intention is maybe misaligned. Maybe they thought it was going to do something for them that it didn't. And perhaps it's an identity shift as well. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, if you remove all your success and you remove your roles in society, what you do, it can become very vulnerable. And I think most of us experienced that in COVID. If we felt like we were going to lose our businesses, it was like, well,
Hmm.
who am I without this business or success?
Right.
And again, it's like peeling off the next layer of like, well, who are you at your core and how do you choose to show up? And what are you willing to do? I think that's, really a question we have to ask ourselves.
That resonates so well with me because a lot of times when I speak to founders and I start helping them plan an exit for their business, so many founders have their entire identity wrapped up in their business. So it's not
Yeah.
just like a big financial event that they're looking at, but they're also looking at a potential loss of identity, which sometimes
Yes.
is, completely at odds with this, monumental event that can potentially occur.
100%. And I think for founders, especially when they're exiting, they want this because that's their definition of success, right? I want to sell my business. I want to get this much money. I want to do these things that I've been waiting to do. But there's also a psychological change, even though there's a massive financial change and an
Hmm.
occupational change, there's a psychological change that sometimes we don't think about. A lot of founders, we work towards something, then we're selling, we're exiting, we're experiencing that. And then we go into a depression because it's like all the things that we thought we would feel, we don't feel. We feel a little naked, a little vulnerable. We have to recreate
Hmm.
ourselves. We've defined purpose again. And that can be very scary for a lot of people, right? We get a lot of pride, we get a lot of satisfaction in the work we do. And I think for people that are in massive transitions, like exiting their business, really focusing on their mindset. So when their mind starts to go, like, what is the voice telling you? I'm
Hmm.
not enough, or who am I? Or like, I like to be in power. I like to have control, whatever it may be. That's the invitation to grow, right? But we got to get
Yep.
still enough and willing enough to listen
Agreed. And it helps a lot when you start planning these things way
way in
ahead of
advance.
the exit, because once that check clears and you don't have
Yeah,
access to your inbox or to your calendar and there's this massive void, it can be really scary unless you've planned for it a year or two, sometimes three ahead. Then it's like, okay, that chapter's over. Let's move on to this without that horrible feeling of emptiness.
100%. And I think it's part of our ego, it's part of our identity. And you can't prepare for something fully that you haven't experienced. So unless you've exited or built businesses and sold them
Right.
multiple times, then you
Correct.
can anticipate what you're going to feel. But for first time founders, you have no idea. You think it's going to feel so great. And then they're like, I thought I'd feel this way. And they don't. And then they kind of go into a redefining moment for themselves. So
Yep.
it's interesting. I know you are always doing interesting things, Stephen, and I want you to tell me what's coming up for you. What's new and exciting in your world that you're going to be pursuing?
Great question. So speaking of founders, and you know me, I love adventures.
Yes.
I'm going to be combining an adventure with founder exit advisory. So what I'm
Mm,
planning is a trip to Ecuador, which is a phenomenal beginner climbing destination. Ecuador has some beautiful volcanoes that really resemble a lot of much, higher type mountains in the world. So I'm planning a climbing school, which is for beginner mountaineers, which is going to be bookended with founder exit advisory services before, during, and after the actual expedition. So thank you for asking. Gives me a
mm.
chance to promote this event in August.
That's brilliant because I think that's so brilliant connecting the adventure because it's like we have to overcome. I'm just imagining myself on this mountain being like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, here we go. But it's a lot of mindset preparation, right? Like physically, if you even think it's a beginner track. But
Right.
mentally, we have to prepare ourselves so we can do it. And then you're actually in the journey and you have self discovery. Then you get to the peak, which is like the exit and the sail, which is
Mm.
amazing. But then you got to get down the mountain. And getting down, I think, requires a lot of grit. It requires a different skill set. And I think it's a beautiful combination of what you're doing because I think there's so many parallels, Stephen, in life. What happens to us in business and happens in our personal life. When we're climbing a mountain personally, our business can be affected and vice versa. So that sounds amazing. I think that's
Thank you.
incredible. And I hope
Thank you
lots
so
of
much.
people join you and you can tell us about it next time.
I can't wait to talk about it after it's done. Right now we have 8 openings. So for
Okay.
anybody listening, please do contact me and I'll give you a lot more details. And by the way, Cara, I'm gonna I'm gonna cut out what you just said and use that as the new sales pitch for this trip because you nailed it.
Yeah, whatever I could do, Stephen, for you, I'm in.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey everyone, just a quick break from the show to review the top 3 things that I talk to many founders about that are looking to maximize the valuation during an exit. 1, are your books in order? 2, is there enough growth left in the business for the acquirer? And number 3, what is your sizzle? What is that special sauce that's going to take many years for a competitor to recreate? If you have those 3, you're definitely going to be maximizing your valuation upon exit. Now back to the show. So while we're on the topic of founders, for any founder entrepreneur listening today, and they want to create meaningful shift in the next 90 days, where do they start? Is there something like actionable you
Yes.
can advise them on actually, starting tomorrow to,
Yes.
like I said, create a meaningful shift in 90 days?
Yeah. All right. So in my book, Big Freaking Change, I created a cycle of change model. And the reason why I call it a cycle of change is we're always in motion. We're always going to be changing and evolving. And it gives us permission to embrace it. I think there's so much resistance. There was a study by Oracle Workplace and Intelligence that states that 75% of people are feeling stuck personally or professionally, which is crazy. And 85% of people are dealing with low self-confidence. And when I look at that measure, I'm like, man, we really got to focus. We believe it's something else that's standing in our way, but actually it's a lack of confidence. And so when we think of change, we have to feel that confidence will come later. We're not going to feel confident before we make change. And just that simple mindset shift can really help give people permission to step out before they feel ready. So the cycle of change has 8 steps. I'll go through them really quickly. The first step is acknowledge you're stuck. Now, most founders, when we feel stuck, we feel inept. We feel incapable. We feel frustrated. We're like, why is this so hard? I should be better at this. We have all these stories. But being stuck is actually not a problem. It's an alert indicating that there's more available to you. So first we have to accept, okay, I'm feeling stuck. I might not say stuck. I might say discouraged, or I can't make decisions, or I have analysis paralysis, or I'm overwhelmed in business, right? But there's something that's off. Then we
Okay.
identify the next step is identify the exact type of change we want to make. So businesses that are often will say, oh, we need to generate more money. Let's talk about financial for a minute. We're like, okay, well, what will that money do for the business? Oh, we'll keep it sustainable. We'll be able to expand to new markets, whatever the goal is. But often it's not a financial change that they need. It's a communication change. It's a strategic plan that they need. The financial reward is just the outcome of making the change. I could go so deep in this, but basically we got to really understand the type of change that's driving the decision to move forward or change the direction we're going. The next step is we manage your mindset. And in a business, this is the founder managing their mindset and also managing the team's mindset. So giving them permission to understand, change is hard. We're going to now be expanding to 5 new markets, or we're launching a new product launch, whatever it may be, but
Mm-hmm.
to acknowledge that there's a mental change happening and what are their resistance and what is the fears that are going to be coming up, because we want to manage them and we want to anticipate them before they happen. When founders have that awareness and ability to do that for their team, there's ease, there's peace of mind. People do not work well under fear. And when we
Mm-hmm.
manage the mindset of ourselves and we say, look, I don't have all the answers. This is a risk. A, B, and C could happen, but we have plans for that. People can get into ease making the change. The next step is we build momentum. And building momentum is always inside our comfort zones. And for a business, if our issue is like, okay, we need this financial goal, but really we need a communication plan, we're going to build momentum that's inside our comfort zone. So we're not like, hey, we're going to hire this new external person and they're going to do a communication plan, blah, 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 blah. It's too rapid, too soon that we actually lose people's confidence. We
Right.
degrade. And so building momentum is small steps. So it's like, hey, what do you wish our team talked about that we don't talk about? hey, what do you think is preventing us from making quicker decisions? But we're having discussions that everyone can feel comfortable with before we make a big change. The next step is you invest in yourself. And so as a founder, this is so important because our energy is the thermostat. We set the temperature in the room. We set the climate. If our energy is really low, maybe it's not the best day to be in front of your team.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or if you have to be in front of your team to say, hey, I'm having an off day. But investing in yourself is like really managing your energy. And for your team, it's investing in them. So through change, sometimes we're so caught up as founders of like the outcome of what we're doing, we forget about the process and how vulnerable people feel when we make change. Nobody likes change. It's necessary. So investing in our teammates really can help too. So saying, what we're going to do is we're going to do this event, or we're going to have this communication, or we're going to go for dinner and we're just going to talk about our fears. But you're pouring back into yourself or your team.
I love that. I mean, everything has been gold so far, but this one is really, really good.
Yeah, and
Keep, keep.
it's often missed, Stephen. And
I
I
know.
think founders, myself included, when I'm doing something massive, it's like I put myself last on the priority list. I'm like, oh, I don't have time. But we are our business's greatest asset, hands down. Why are
Yep.
we not treating ourselves like the greatest asset of the business, right? And so just that mindset shift of like, no, our energy is the most important currency, and how I show up is going to move the business forward. So after we've done that, the next step is act boldly. And this is where I call your big freaking change. This is where you massively step outside of your comfort zone. You're doing something that you've never done before. And this is where fear always meets you. So I
Mm-hmm.
like to say, embrace the fear at this step, like, hola, ¿cómo estás? Bonjour, right? Like, just know it's coming for you. It's going to show up with different characters. It's going to show up in ways that you didn't anticipate. But just know, like, that's not a reason to back down. It's actually the fuel you need to push forward. So when I know fear is coming, I'm like, okay, this is just my fear. It's part of the process. It's go time, right? Just acknowledging it. And then the next step is enjoy the journey. And for
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, especially, this is a hard one. We often reach a new peak. Okay. So I'm going to say, like, you did your Mount Everest, you reached a certain peak and you're like, okay, what's next? Right. We all don't even celebrate where we landed, whether we made it to the top or not, whether we hit the goal or not. It's like we trekked, we did this amazing thing, even though maybe the outcome was not what we totally wanted. We need to pause and simmer. And I tell entrepreneurs to simmer. And when I say that, people are like, I don't simmer, like I take action. It's like, yeah, but let's simmer because your nervous system is out of whack. Your
Mm-hmm.
mindset is crazy. Like fears are coming into you, but let's simmer because when we simmer, Stephen, we learn to embrace the positives and we learn to learn from the shortcomings. And that is the gift of business, entrepreneurship, life. But if we don't simmer and pause, we miss those lessons and we're like, okay, check, what's next? And we thought we were going to reach a certain feeling, right? I'm going to feel proud when I do this. I'm going to feel successful. But we get there and we're like, I don't have these feelings. Like, what's wrong with me? Or I want more or nothing. We keep getting expansive. And what I like to tell entrepreneurs is like, this is a beautiful gift and it can be a
Mm-hmm.
setback. So let's simmer, let's celebrate the success and let's not diminish it because usually we're like, okay, check, move on. What's the bigger thing? And the beauty is once we reach a certain peak, we see what else is possible for us. And our version of ourselves has expanded. Our mindset has expanded. In business, our capability has expanded. And then we can reach new goals, but
Reflection
enjoying the journey.
with intention. And I love
Exactly.
this new term, simmer. I mean, as you were describing this, I was getting chills.
Oh,
I'm like, it's such great advice because we're all running at 100 miles an hour. After we feel that there's no time after an accomplishment to
yeah.
celebrate anything because we're off chasing the next big thing. So
Yes.
simmering for a bit is great advice.
And it's great. And think of like, I mean, when you simmer a sauce, right? The texture, the taste, everything comes to life in time. Yes, you could consume it right away. You're going to have a different experience. But if you let it simmer, there's often like, it's going to be way better. And
Yep.
that's like entrepreneurship. You have to simmer. Like I love going to the spa after I do something amazing. I'm like, okay, spa day, turn everything off. And I check in with myself. I'm like, okay, how did this feel? What would I want to do differently? But it's in the pause that I believe we become really powerful. And most entrepreneurs skip that phase and we're just going on to the next thing. But
I
when
love
we
it.
are able to do that, Stephen, that's when we truly unlock our confidence. And I think most people believe something will make us feel more confident, but it's the self-awareness, it's the self-reflection, it's the cycle that gives us that confidence that we can reach a new peak in life, in business, on the mountain, in Ecuador, all of the things.
Amazing. Amazing. I love this method. Is there a cheat sheet for this methodology that you just described?
Yes. If people just email me or hit up Big Freaking Change, there's a toolkit I give to everybody for free. And it walks them through the steps. It asks them really pointed questions. And it's just a great reminder. So this cycle of change has helped just individuals. It's helped companies. It's helped organizations. It's used in schools now, in colleges and universities, because I think so many of us, Stephen, we want to make change, but we don't really have a method. And just seeing it like 8 steps at the beginning, people are like, oh, this takes me, 10, 15 minutes, maybe half an hour. But then you get so quick that you're like, okay, I'm stuck. What's the type of change do I need to make? Boom, I'm going to manage my mind. And it just fires. And
I love it.
you don't sit in that stillness of feeling uncomfortable and that you're stuck. You feel actually empowered that you can move through it.
That's awesome. Thank you for making that available. But I
Yes,
highly
you bet.
recommend people read the book first and then use this as a tool after reading the entire book.
Yes, thank you.
So I recently introduced a segment called Rapid Fire Questions. Nothing new, but
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying doing this just because of the quick answers that I get. So you are guest number 2 to receive rapid fire questions.
Okay, let's go.
Biggest excuse people hide behind.
I'm not ready.
Agreed. One habit that creates the fastest change.
Dedication. Consistency.
Okay. Changing answers is allowed.
Okay, thank you.
What book besides yours and mine has shaped your thinking?
Oh my gosh, I read so many books. That is a pressure one. I think recently Mel Robbins' Let Them was really empowering. The whole premise is around us only being able to control certain things and letting go of other things and giving people autonomy. Because I think a lot of business owners, we like to organize and plan, and sometimes it can come across as controlling. And so it's like, what do we do? So Let Them was, I would say Let Them is my recent one.
Yeah, I agree. I read that recently and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Morning routine, overrated or essential?
Essential always, even when you suck and you feel so tired. It's like if I don't have half an hour to work out, I take 3 minutes and I go hard because that 3 minutes prepares my mindset that I'm dedicated to myself. Even if it's not the outcome I wanted, everyone has 3 minutes, everyone has 5 minutes, but it's about showing up for myself so I can show up for others. 100% essential.
Agreed. Last one. This is a gimme. Change, painful or empowering?
Empowering.
Of course.
And painful. Yeah, it's both, but
I
it's
knew you would say
empowering.
both. So
Yeah, it
I'm
really
glad you
is.
said both because that's really true.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people are just always waiting, Stephen, for more time, more energy, more money before they do the thing they want to do because we don't feel ready. We come up with excuses. But if we just understand that it's going to be painful, but the end result is confidence and empowerment, I mean, what else do we want? That's incredible. When you can give the gift for the work you do to founders of like creating the exit plan, really understanding the entire process, seeing and discovering the blind spots that they can't see because they're so in it, and then detaching themselves over time to release, let go, and then creating the life they want. I mean, that's a beautiful gift because you walk them through confidence.
I love that. So only 5 for this session, but thank you very much for shooting off those answers. Last question. What's the hardest change you've ever helped somebody make?
Okay, the biggest shift I've helped someone make. I've helped people transition in businesses, in life, moving to different countries, having hard conversations. I think one woman in particular, she was a very successful doctor. I worked with her and she was always giving to other people and forgot to give to herself. And once she started doing, simple things, her practice boomed, she expanded, she retired earlier, she started working out. Like, I love it when one change has a ripple effect into multiple areas of their life. So it seems simple, but it was like she could not see that she was a priority. And she just kept pushing and giving and never having time. And I think once she really triggered herself, then her whole life expanded. And to me, that's the most fulfilling thing you can do as a coach is see the ripple effect.
I love it. That's got to be so rewarding.
It is. It really, really is because it makes me feel that I'm using my gifts and talents and education and like my skill set to create. I think the beautiful thing with being a coach is you never understand the impact of your coaching
Hmm.
until you kind of zoom out and then someone reaches out and says, oh my gosh, if I didn't do this. And there's like 15 things that came after it that you have no
Of
idea.
course. Yep.
And that's pretty cool because it's like if we could all do that for each other and hold up the mirror and hold up the light, that's when the world can change for the good, right?
100%. I mean, I always thought I was pretty good at change, but I am like re-motivated and re-inspired right now after speaking with you to go do
Oh,
some even bigger things. So thank you for that
I love
inspiration today.
always. I always love seeing you. I think you have great energy. I think the work you do is so powerful and meaningful, and you've
Thank you.
walked the walk and you give back. And I mean, your book is brilliant. You are brilliant. And I hope more people take action, right? That's where we can reach our goals and do the things we really want.
Uh, Thank you very, very much for that. And right back at you. Where can people reach out to you to get your book and to get more information about the consulting that you offer?
Yes, www.bigfreakingchange.com is the book and all of the information there on the coaching. And then my speaking and coaching is caramoellerpoppitt.com. And people can reach out on social media, reach out on the website. I'd love to connect, love to help people make meaningful change.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. We'll put that all in the show notes. And thank you again for your time today and for being on the Built to Finish podcast.
Love it. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Built to Finish podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Built to Finish podcast, please do subscribe and like. It really does help the show a lot and helps me get great guests like Cara onto the show. Thank you very much for tuning in today. That's a wrap for this episode of Built to Finish. Thank you for tuning in. For show notes and more details, head over to podcast.stephenpivnik.com. Special thank you to our sponsor, Accresis, offering tailored, high-impact advisory services that help founders get to their finish line with a strategic acquisition or majority investor recapitalization. Catch you next week.